how do you get reviews when you don't have sales? And how do you get
Right.
sales when you don't have reviews? It's this chicken and egg problem,
Yeah.
right? And the way that you solve that is by giving your book away for free. And
Right.
that's where I go back to again is starting a mailing list, because
Mhm.
then if you start with building a mailing list, doing cross promotions with other authors, giving away a free sample of your book, or maybe you write a short story prequel to your book or your
Mhm.
series, give that away for free.
Welcome to Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show we have
Evan Gal.
Yes, we do. It was such a good interview. I learned some stuff.
Yeah, he has some interesting stuff. He's with StoryOrigin. He created StoryOrigin.
He created it, yeah.
Yeah, for authors. It has some really cool solutions for problems authors have.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about that, but we also talk about newsletters and what to send, cross promotion using newsletter swaps.
Yep.
He has a really cool beta reader management tool.
I know. I love that. And direct sales trends and challenges. They have a system where they can be the merchant of record if you have direct sales, but you don't want, if you want direct sales, but you don't want to set up a store.
Yeah, they're using, I think, Lemon Squeezy for the fulfillment. So they integrate with that and some other newsletter platforms and stuff too.
Yeah.
So that is coming up. And this podcast is the corporate sponsor is Vellum. So we'll talk about that more as well too soon.
Yeah. We love Vellum.
We do. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks to all the supporters who sponsor us every month. We appreciate you guys and just appreciate you showing up for us. We try and show up for you. And we appreciate you returning the favor through support. And we also have a way you can text us to let us know your questions. So there's always a link in the show notes if you have a question. So these are 2 questions. I'll do a quick summary of them. Do you do anything to protect your identity online? Extra Norton or VPN? Do we do anything about that? And then another question is about pen names. So let's do one at a time. So do you use anything extra when you're online for, what do you do?
Oh, no, I'm just naked online.
Of course.
Naked and exposed.
Yeah, I would say I do all the normal stuff. You try and I have a password manager and I don't do VPN or anything like that.
No, me either.
I figure
maybe we should, but we don't.
Maybe we should, but you're living a semi-public life in a way. It's very strange in some ways that we just talk about all this stuff and we put it out on the internet. But I think if you have just good general practices, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Although I did worry when I first had my first book out, I had heard that you should not use the signature you use on your checks and your official documents, you should not use that when you sign books. Oh. And so I do use a slightly different variant, which I thought later.
You sign with your left hand?
Yeah, it's just a scrawl. You can't see anything. But later I thought that's probably not going to prevent anybody from taking my signature.
Gosh, not now anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then the second one was about pen names. Are our names our real names or are they pen names? And this person says, I'm seriously considering using my own name for my brand. Is this a mistake? We talked about this in depth with our most recent supporter episode about pen names. We really went into this, but we'll give you the quick version. I used my real name.
Yeah. And I use my real first name, but my last name is pen name. And I did that. Really, it was a marketing branding decision as much as it was anything, because I just felt like Albright is a happy name and I write happy books. And so it just seemed to go. Plus, I wanted to be at the top of the search. Back then it mattered more. It doesn't matter as much now.
And top shelf. That some people pick names according to where they'll be or who they'll be shelved next to.
Yeah, exactly. And that did play into it a little bit. But I just feel like, I'm not opposed to using my real name. It's just, I didn't do it necessarily to protect privacy, maybe to protect my kids a little bit. Well, one kid in particular, but now I probably wouldn't even, if I was knowing what I know now, what I wish I'd known, knowing what I know now, I would still do the same thing, but I wouldn't have worried about it quite so much.
Yeah, there are certain things that you want to keep private, but I don't know that it depends on what you want to reveal,
Right.
I think.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that's the main thing you have to, that's what you have control over.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that many authors really, unless you just hit it so big that, you're a household name.
And I know there are people, I think Jennifer Armentrout, or it was either Jennifer Armentrout or Sarah J. Maas. I'm starting rumors, but one of them had to move states because they had used their real name, not thinking anything about it. And I think Jennifer Armentrout has said publicly that she wished she had used a pen name.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about it, then I would say just do some research and find out what your options are. And I don't think I don't think there's one right choice.
I don't either. I don't either. I really do think it's what you're comfortable with, what you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll put a link to, actually, I don't know if it'll show up on the supporter episodes are hidden now because of the way they've changed the feed. If you're looking for that, click the support link and sign up, and then you can get it. And then you'll also get all the backlist. We have plenty of episodes, supporter episodes, and we'll also give you a shout out in a future episode.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Vellum, our sponsor for this week. I did not know they have some new features that I didn't know they had.
Oh,
and they're pretty cool. So I was going to run through
stuff.
them.
Yeah.
They always had page backgrounds for chapter heading pages, but now you can do that throughout your whole book. So if you want every page to be green or blue or black, you can do that.
Right.
Then they also have page borders. So if you just want a border on the side and you want plain white for the text, because that makes it more readable, you can do that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing they have is forced edges. Yes. That's where you can get printing on this side of the book. I don't know how to explain it. You can put designs that are printed on, you can get them printed wherever you print the book. So some of these things, if you want color, we generally I use Book Vault. But if you want to use Ink or Spark, which color is much more expensive if you do that because they charge a different way for print for color. But if you wanted to do black and white forced edges, you could use Ingram and still get something printed on your edges, but it's easier to do that way. I don't know how to
well, you can do it in KDP too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you format it in Vellum and upload it, it will print that way on Amazon.
Yeah. So those are some cool things that they're always doing something new.
Yeah. Well, and they're just so dang responsive and they're so great. I mean, they're just the nicest guys in the whole world. And there's something to be said about working with nice people, And I think it's a little underrated at times.
Yeah. We were laughing the other day. My husband said something about, he was trying to say they have a low customer service policy, but he said they have a no customer service policy. And I was like, yes, that's such the way now is like just no customer service. We have no people to talk to you.
Yeah.
We will never reply to your email. You can't even get in touch
with us.
Keep
your expectations low. That's not how it is with Vellum. Yeah.
Yeah. Vellum is one of the ones that they are there for you to answer your questions and very responsive when you have issues. So try Vellum. The link is actually called tryvellum.com/wish if you want to know more. And if you're going to use Vellum, we would appreciate it if you would use that link. That'd help us out.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. I don't really have an update. I've just been writing and.
That's an update.
Well, I know last week I took the week off. I had finished one round of revisions and took a week, and then I've started back this week with another round of revisions. I mean, I know I'm down to just a couple of things that I need to make sure are, running continuously through the book and stuff like that. And I don't know, sometimes when I read it, I'm like, this just feels so, I don't want to say immature. It feels, it doesn't feel full. That's the best way I can put it. It doesn't feel full. So that's what I'm going back and making sure, not just adding words to add words, but if I can expand and make it feel fuller and, I don't know, more robust, then that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Well,
like a sentence or a paragraph or, especially like with dialogue, like going from one one speaking person to the other, just making sure those transitions are smooth. I hate it when you have sometimes I use a lot of choppy dialogue because my books are pretty fast paced, but not everything is supposed to be that way.
And you write thinner in the beginning.
I do. So I have to add a lot. Yeah, I have to add a lot towards the end. But yeah, it's going well. I'm just moving towards my editor date, which is in April, so it should not be a problem.
Yeah.
I'm really, of course, I've taken my time with this. I've not gone fast with this book because I want to get it right. So I'm starting to look at marketing stuff and how I'm going to promote it and things like that.
Nice.
How about you?
Let's see. I took a break to gather up some of the tax stuff, and that always takes longer than you think it's going to. But I think I'm almost there on that, and I can send that off. I'm still writing. But for me, I've noticed that I get like the first fourth of the book or each section. Like every time I seem to change to a different act, I have to pause and recess and figure out. And since I'm doing this, it's set in Egypt. There's a whole bunch of things I don't know about things. And so I have to stop. And for me, it's if I write a scene without having the context around it, I can't do it. So I have to have a little bit of context. So that means a little bit of research, which means rabbit holes, which I got to pull myself back. Yeah. Because I'm researching hats that they wore and stuff like that I really don't need as many details as I look up. But anyway, that's what makes it fun too. So I'm doing that. Exactly. And that's about it. I restarted a Mystery Books podcast. I have an episode about that out. And I decided on that one, I'm going to do it one episode a month and just keep it slow and steady. Instead of, I was doing seasons where I do 6 episodes released every week or every other week or 7 maybe. But so I'm doing that. And I know that a couple of people are also doing fiction related podcasts. So if you are, I would love to hear about it. Let me know. Send us a text. I feel like there's people out there that are podcasting about fiction in their books, but it's just not real well known, or it kind of stays quieter because you're reaching an audience of readers, not other authors. So I'm just nosy and curious. I want to know who's doing it.
Want to know how you're doing it. Yeah. Well, and before we go, I just want to say this. I made a TikTok and Instagram about this, but I was incredibly inspired by Alyssa Liu's gold medal performance and just the joy with which she skated. And then her interview later where she was like, the medals are not what's important to me. It is the process. It is the journey. It is what I learn about myself when, as I go along. And that is just so incredibly insightful for a 20-year-old. And it was really convicting to me too, because that's what I want. I have decided that is what I want. That we can't, as we say many times, we cannot control the outcome of what we do. We can only control the process and how much we put into these books. And I really, that is how I want to write from now on. That is me. And it could be a function of just where I am in my life and everything. But I do think it's something for us all to think about, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And keeping in mind that, the journey and the process and what we learn about ourselves is really as important as making a living or selling books.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And I loved it because she was just herself. And I think that's one reason people were so interested in her. She was like, I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to do my hair the way I want. I'm going to wear the clothes I want.
I'm going to say what I want.
I'm going to be involved in it. And I feel like she is a type of creator in a way like us. And if you let yourself shine through, then people are drawn to that. I mean, and it's the uniqueness of each person that people are drawn to. And
and you're not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. You'll be for the people you are for. And
but there is something about just that. I love what I'm doing, and this is so much fun. It pulls people in, even people that are not interested in skating at all. They're like, wait, I need to know more about this because it's interesting.
I think what was so interesting is the candid shots they got of her while she was skating. Like, she's like, even when she's not looking at the crowd, like when she was doing her spins, there are pictures of her with a smile on her face and her eyes closed, and she is, you can tell she is just in the moment and loving what she's doing. And you know, if we're not loving what we're doing, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? It was just really something that hit home with me. So I wanted to bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah, loved it.
So we should probably get on with the interview. We have gone long. Sorry, y'all, but
we have.
You know us.
Yeah, we kind of get rambly at times. You're still with us, so I guess you like it.
We're not for everybody.
That's right. You can always skip ahead to the interview if you're
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So here is Evan. Today we're really excited to have Evan Gow with us. Hi, Evan. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
We're so excited you're here.
Thanks for having me on.
Evan Gow is an indie developer of StoryOrigin, a marketing tool and community of authors that work together to find reviewers, build mailing lists, increase sales, and stay on top of deadlines, which that's great. We need that.
Exactly. And we should say we met you at Author Nation, or Sarah met you at Author Nation. And
you had some of the best swag. The chip clip thing.
Every year I try to bring like some new piece of swag to Author Nation. I've done slap bracelets, bag clips, bags for people. And the chip clips is honestly just something I needed at home.
Yeah,
why not buy 200?
Multi-purpose, right? That's awesome.
Tell us how you got started working with writers.
So I used to write short stories back in high school, and then so always had an interest in writing. And then in college, I got interested in tech and entrepreneurship, and went to work for a few years. And then I finally wanted to get into building my own thing, and then get back into writing. So I went and asked a bunch of authors for advice. And they said, use this service for building a mailing list, use this service for finding reviewers, use this other service for creating universal book links. And the list went on. And I was just like, oh, okay, I see the problem here is like you have 8 different services, 5 different spreadsheets. You're doing all this context switching between, okay, I need to do this thing. Now, which service or spreadsheet did I have that saved in, or where do I need to go? And so I wanted to just build sort of a one-stop shop for doing all that stuff. I set out to do it, and that was July 2017 is when I left my previous role. And then started working on it, released StoryOrigin initially in April 2018 with just a single feature. But over the years, I've added all that other stuff that we can get into. So it's really become a consolidated platform for a lot of authors.
That's fantastic.
You mentioned the short stories. One of our questions is, do you have any aspirations to write? So do you still do that? Do you do fiction? Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, so I was planning on getting back into writing and then building tools for authors at the same time. And then quickly I realized building the tools would take 100% of my time. So I did not get back into the writing the way that I had initially planned. But yeah, I definitely still aspire to get to writing at some point.
Yeah.
It probably just keeps growing, right? You knock a few things off and then you just add more to it.
It's generally a lot faster to add things to the to-do list than it is to check them off.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I've been known to add things that I've already done to the list so I can mark it off.
Oh, that's fun too.
You call that a to-done list.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I heard somebody else call it a ta-da list. Ta-da, I did these things.
What do you wish authors knew about what you do?
I really recommend that authors build a mailing list. Like it is so important and valuable. And StoryOrigin helps with that. And I generally recommend that to authors as being the first place to get started when they're thinking about marketing is building a mailing list, because it is generally fairly cheap to get started, if not completely free, depending on what services you're using. An easy way to get started with building relationships with your readers, which like at the end of the day, a mailing list gives you a lot of stuff that you cannot get through any other marketing means. Facebook ads, Amazon ads, etc. do not give you a direct relationship with your customers, your readers, right? And so, yeah, it's just by far the most important thing. I would recommend authors get started sooner rather than later.
I noticed StoryOrigin integrates with so many of the different newsletter providers, right? So if you use pretty much anything, you can connect it up.
So StoryOrigin integrates with 12 different newsletter sending services. So that's like MailChimp, MailerLite, ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, Flowdesk, all of the major ones, right? Even if you're using a service that StoryOrigin doesn't currently integrate with as well, you can still download the list of signups that you get for your reader magnets on StoryOrigin and then manually export those over to whatever newsletter sending service that you are using. But for authors that don't know what those words were, like a newsletter sending service would be where you design and you send your newsletter. StoryOrigin has features like reader magnets and cross promotions where you would plan out dates that you would send your newsletter and can help you collect signups for your newsletter and stuff like that. But when it comes to actually designing and sending your newsletter, that's what you would use something like MailerLite or MailChimp for, etc.
Correct.
Is there anything that you wish you'd known about indie publishing or working with authors?
At the outset, I didn't really know much when I was getting into it. But like I said, I went and I talked to a bunch of authors about what tools and services and asking them for their advice for things that I thought might be helpful for myself. And so I felt like I was on a really solid foundation when I was getting started because I had talked to so many authors and spent so much time researching before I tried to do anything myself, which is sometimes a good thing and sometimes a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people can get lost in the weeds with doing too much research before getting started, but I feel like I did an appropriate amount.
Yeah. How did you find that group of authors that you kind of started talking to?
So at that time, I was living in Austin, and
Enough said.
What's that?
I said enough said. I know.
We know a lot of authors in Austin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. So I was able to meet a bunch of authors, and then also just through Facebook groups and just like reading posts that other people were making.
Yeah.
Of course, like the 20 books to 50K group was a big one. Yeah. And so, yeah, just reading what people were posting, reading those case studies to see like what is actually effective and all of those things, and then physically talking to authors as well.
Well, what do you see authors doing that they think they have to do because everybody's doing it, but aren't producing results?
Almost anything and everything can produce results, right? It's just about a level of time commitment and skill set, right? In like one of the problems I feel like with going to a conference like Author Nation where we met, right? Like you hear all of this advice from authors who are like, okay, I'm on this social media platform and this is like my posting schedule and this is what I'm doing and this is how it has worked for me. And then you hear those stories from each author about every single different social media service, right? And then like you hear people talking about building their mailing list and then people running Facebook ads or running Amazon ads, etc. And so I feel like a lot of times authors just try to do too many things at once and ultimately don't accomplish anything because they've spread themselves too thin and they're not focusing on just the one thing. So it's not necessarily any one thing that I see authors wasting their time on so much as pick one thing and do it well and focus on that. Because you can do really well with TikTok if you spend a lot of time on it. You can do really well with Facebook or Amazon ads if you spend a lot of time on them. All of these things require investment of time and money and effort. And that's where I come back to recommending authors starting with building a mailing list because it is a relatively small time investment up front. It doesn't take a ton of time because you actually own the relationship with your customer and you're not at the whims of some algorithm determining whether or not your content is going to be shown to your audience who is ostensibly following you to get your content, right? They subscribe to you on your Facebook page or whatever, and then Facebook just never shows your posts to your audience. And so, there's a lot of platforms where you'll spend a bunch of time posting stuff and it's just never going to get shown to your audience. Right. With an email list, you own that direct relationship with your audience, right? So as long as you're being like generally helpful to your readers and sharing and building a personal relationship with your readers, like you're gonna land in their inbox and they're gonna see your email. And so most authors that I see, their open rates are generally around 30 to 40% versus if you look at social media platforms, generally your reach is like 2 to 3% of your audience will see your posts that are following you. It's just it's much less of a fight against some algorithm that you have no control over.
Can you, for newer authors, explain that to them? Because you're actually on someone else's platform, but we do own that real estate.
Yeah.
So explain that.
I'll start with the counter example, which is if you're on Facebook and then Facebook decides to shut down your account for whatever reason because some bot looks at some post that you made 5 years ago and decides, oh, we don't like that post anymore. And then you're like, what post are you even suspending my account for? I don't know. Like, stuff is pretty crazy out there. And if your Facebook account gets shut down for whatever reason, right, you can't take that list of subscribers that you had to your Facebook page and move that over to Twitter or TikTok or wherever else, right?
Right.
If your email service provider shuts down your account, which is generally like unlikely. So when you have that list of email addresses, you can download it as a CSV file, right? Just like an Excel spreadsheet sort of thing, right? And then you can upload it to any other newsletter sending service and start sending your newsletters through those services instead. Let's say MailChimp went out of business tomorrow, right? I can download the list of the email addresses that are on my mailing list on MailChimp, and then I can upload them to MailerLite, and I can start sending my newsletters to my audience through MailerLite. And for all intents and purposes, like, my audience will have absolutely no idea that I've done that, right? They might notice like I might have changed like some formatting in my emails or whatever because certain things are easier with MailerLite versus MailChimp or whatever. The designs are slightly different, but like for most readers, they're probably not going to notice the change. That is what we mean when we say you own that relationship with that customer. Like no one can really take that away from you once you have that set of email addresses, because you can always just take your email list and move it to a new newsletter sending service.
Yeah. I feel like newsletters and podcast and maybe Substack are the only, and Substack even has some caveats to it. They're the only place that you own the information that's going out. You own the people. With a podcast, you don't know who it's going to, but you own the feed and you can send it out to whoever you want. You can't be deplatformed, I guess is what I'm saying. You can't have some algorithm go, or maybe direct sales. That would also be another one. If you have your own store, you have your own customers. Yeah. But newsletters would be the place to start. If you're a new author, start with a newsletter and just get that going, because then you own that connection.
Right.
Another reason it's great is if you release a new book, you just send an email out to your mailing list. Like, you don't need to pay to reach the audience that you've already garnered. You can just send them an email.
Yeah. Switching from like new authors to more established authors, do you see any similarities between writers who have been successful over the long haul, since you probably have worked with a lot of authors, see what people are doing?
Consistency is just really important, right? It's consistently putting out books, consistently sending newsletters, just always being there and maintaining that connection with your audience. Because if you only send a newsletter once every 6 months, you're going to lose touch with your audience. Your audience might forget who you are, especially if you're talking about something like romance authors, right? Where readers are generally fairly voracious and they might read 20, 30 books a year, maybe 100, 150 books a year, right? Some of those readers, if you haven't had any point of contact with them in the past month, they might go, wait, sorry, who are you again? Because I've already read 3, 4, 5 other books in that time.
And gotten 5 to 10 newsletters.
Yeah,
this
that's
week.
right. Yeah. And I think also that author, and this is not only applicable to authors, it's applicable to everyone. I feel this way too, right? Is we don't want to bother people.
Correct.
I don't want to feel like I'm being salesy or I'm marketing to you or whatever. Like, it just, for a lot of people, just feels icky. And I generally recommend, to get past that feeling, is don't be super salesy. I generally recommend authors build their relationships with their audience in 2 ways, right? In particular, this is how I think about my own newsletters and how I send emails, is I generally have 2 parts to building a relationship. One is I want to provide you with value, right? And so in my newsletters, I will talk about here's updates that I've made to the software. Like here are things that I've improved or made easier, or here's a new feature, etc. The second part of my newsletter is by sharing personal stuff from my life. So that might be a picture of me like walking my dog. It might be a picture of me and my kids playing in the snow. It doesn't need to be particularly like interesting or amazing or super cool or whatever. It can just be really simple stuff from your life. And so it's just, I'll share those parts of my life with my audience as well. And so people start to understand who I am as a person. And so that helps build a relationship and connection with your audience that you can't. And so for authors in particular, the way that I recommend that they do this through their newsletters is by sharing other books that they think that their audience might like. Because for a reader who can read 10, 20, 30 books in a year or 100 books, it's much easier and faster to read a book than it is to write a book.
Yeah.
And you're not always going to have something new to share with your audience. That provides value to your audience because I know my to be read list is about a mile long. Does that stop me from still going out and browsing new books to add to my to be read list? Absolutely not. And so that's why I recommend to authors cross promotion as a huge way or a great way to get started with marketing is cross promoting with other authors. You say, hey, I'll share one of your books in one of my upcoming newsletters if you share one of my books in one of your upcoming newsletters.
Right.
And then you're getting that value of both providing value to your audience, and then you are reaching new audiences by getting your works shown in other authors' newsletters.
And there's also the like fringe benefit of when you share a lot of books or recommendations, which I do that a lot because I feel like that's something that I know my readers like books and that's easy to share.
Yep.
I like to take topics, and I just did one for Valentine's Day. It's going to go out like this week as we're talking about sleuthing couples, mysteries that involve Agatha Christie's, Tommy and Tuppence, and I happen to have some too, so I'll throw those in the list. But then you get people clicking on your books and also these other books. So, you're going to get some cross-pollination for your also bots, and that can help your books. It's like a secondary way to get your books seen and get them associated with other books that you want to be seen with.
Correct.
That is another benefit is like you're juicing the Amazon algorithm to say, hey, when other readers are shopping these other books, put my books in the other books you might like section on Amazon, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, and it also, for your newsletter provider, it improves your click rates, which always, that's great. Besides newsletters or not building a newsletter, what are some of the common mistakes authors making?
So I think a lot of times authors do the reverse, right? Is they write a book and they're like, I need this to become a career. I want this to become a career. So I need to focus on making money from this endeavor. And so they focus on sales immediately. And it makes sense, right? From an abstract level, but when you get in the weeds, what happens is you send a bunch of traffic to your book's landing page and then crickets, right? Because if you don't have any reviews on your books, the conversion rate on sending traffic to your sales pages is going to be extremely low because you have no social proof, right? Getting past like 10 reviews is extremely valuable. And so that can be a challenge, right? Because how do you get reviews when you don't have sales? And how do you get sales when you don't have reviews? It's this chicken and egg problem, right? And the way that you solve that is by giving your book away for free. And that's where I go back to, again, is starting a mailing list. Because then if you start with building a mailing list, doing cross promotions with other authors, giving away a free sample of your book, or maybe you write a short story prequel to your book or your series, give that away for free. Then you've got people who are entering into your series. They know who you are. And then you can say, hey, do you want to get all of my books free forever?
Right.
And that is a really good sales pitch to readers is, oh, I can get all of your books free forever. How do I do that? And you say, you join my review team, right? And I'll give you all of the books. You read one, you review it, and I'll give you the next one. And so building a review team, and that's how you build a business, right? Is that you have customers, you have an audience, you have people who are going to go to bat for you, right?
Right.
So yeah, the real mistake I just see is authors who focus on sales too quickly
Yeah.
before they have any sort of backlist, before they have any sort of reviews.
Yeah. With my first book, I gave away 300 copies of that book to ARC readers. I got 75 reviews, and some people may say, that's not great return. Are you
That's
kidding me? I had
fantastic.
nothing. I had no platform, no nothing. I got 75 reviews within the first week of that book being out. It changed everything.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
huge. That is by far worth more to you as an author
Yep.
than had you sold those 300
I
copies.
was really fortunate just because I was working for an author who wrote similar to me, so her ARC team, but then I used a service that's no longer around to help get the rest of the ARCs in front of people, and it worked great.
That's awesome. So yeah, you had that relationship of that other author being able to cross promote you too. And that's something else that you can do with the review copies feature on StoryOrigin. So the review copies feature allows you to collect requests for your review copies, and you can promote that review copy request page by setting up cross promotions with other authors where they'll promote your review copies to their audience. And these are the two types of cross promotion, generally speaking. One is a one-to-one cross promotion, which is what I described earlier, where I say, I'll promote one of your books in one of my upcoming newsletters. If you promote one of my books in one of your upcoming newsletters, that's a newsletter swap. To be clear, like, you are not giving your mailing list to the other author. They're not giving you their mailing list. Nothing like that, right?
It's a mention, right? You're going to mention the book, maybe post a cover and a link, and
I call it Albright Spotlight.
Oh, there you go.
My
Fantastic. So that's one type of cross promotion. The other type of cross promotion is called a group promotion. And that is where you, me, and let's say 20 other authors, we all list our books on a single landing page. And then we all put the link to that landing page into our newsletters. And in my newsletter, I'll put that link generally along with a banner image for that group promotion. And when readers click on that banner image, it will take them to the page that lists everyone's books in that group promo. Right. So we're all building our mailing lists or doing whatever together. And so those cross promotions on StoryOrigin, you can set them up through StoryOrigin. They can be for your reader magnets, which help you build your mailing list and collect signups for your mailing list. Or they can be for review copies so that you can collect interest and get requests for your review copies. They can be for your universal book links so that you can send traffic to where your books are for sale, whether that's Amazon, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, etc. Or it can be, or those cross promotions can be for even collecting interest in your audiobook promo codes that you have from, if you produced an audiobook through Audible, you have ACX promo codes, or through Findaway or Spotify, etc.
So do you see any trends that are things that are popular right now? People that are, it can be like in the way people are promoting their books, or maybe in the books themselves.
I would say one thing that was popular last year was direct sales, because there have been some nice case studies from authors who have built Shopify stores, and they've done a lot of really heavy lifting to build direct sales with their audience. There's been a large wave of authors who have started to build their own direct sales stores using platforms like Shopify. And so I think the trend is this year actually is probably pulling back from that, because when you build a direct sales store with something like Shopify, you're paying probably $30 to $50 a month for your Shopify subscription. And then if you want to do things like, quote, the right way, generally speaking, that also includes like paying for a bunch of Shopify plugins to do upselling and all of this other stuff. And those fees can add up quickly. So those cross promotions where I was talking about earlier, like you can find reviewers or increase sales. So that also includes selling direct. So you can set up direct sale ebooks through StoryOrigin. And that feature integrates with Lemon Squeezy as the payment processor. I initially just started with Lemon Squeezy because they act as the merchant of record. So if you are an author and you sell a book, anyone in Europe through Shopify, you are liable for collecting and remitting VAT taxes, which are their equivalent to a sales tax. which can be a huge headache because it involves like doing quarterly filings and like collecting that sales tax and adding integrations so that you can make sure that you're properly tracking. So when you use a platform like Shopify, they don't act as the merchant of record. They do not become liable for collecting and remitting the sales tax. Lemon Squeezy does. So that is why I picked them as the first integration that I was going to build with that direct sale ebook feature. Adding other services like Shopify, etc., as a payment processor are on the to-do list.
I got a Shopify store, and there are plugins that will handle those things, and you pay a fee once you make a sale, so you don't have to pay all the time. But if you're just starting out, definitely do something like this where you don't have to handle all that, because it's a whole nother rabbit hole and world you have to learn about. And there are ways to handle it. But if you're starting out, just do something simple like this.
I think the trend, going back to what I was saying, I think the trend is like a lot of authors are probably going to be shutting down the Shopify stores. And I would suggest to those authors switching to a platform like StoryOrigin, where you get a lot of that stuff just baked in.
That's great. Then, so what do you see coming on the horizon? We're living in a new world, and just curious what you coming.
Like in terms of AI and things like that?
Just in general, what do you think the biggest like influence will be in the
I
next
definitely
year?
think that in terms of like trends and what's going to be changing the author landscape, I think AI is obviously huge. And I think to pretend that it's not going to change things would be silly. Definitely changing things, right? And so, yeah, I think it's just going to substantially increase the amount of books that are being published every year. And let's be real, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before AI was a thing, the number of books being published every year was already ginormous, right? Readers and authors were already drowning in a sea of newly published books.
Right.
And it wasn't going to be easy to, it's not 2013 anymore, like where you could just publish a book and make money because like you're the only
it
book
was
published,
out there, and it was one of the few in a certain category.
Exactly.
Right.
So that hasn't been the case for years now.
Right.
And it will continue to not be the case in the future. And so I've always said to authors, like basically since I started StoryOrigin, right? Because this was true even in 2018, like the number of authors, the number of books being published was like a good book does not a business make, right? AI is not really going to change that. It's definitely going to change the way that authors write books and like the number of books that get published. But I don't think it's going to change things at the individual level for authors in terms of what they need to do to be successful, which is become good marketers.
Yeah.
Right. This has been true for years. Authors are digital marketers who happen to also write books.
Yeah. But it also goes back to what you were talking about, sharing something personal and connecting with your readers. If you do, that's what will differentiate you from the mass of books out there. Also sharing your recommendations, you're helping them curate. You're curating this mass of books and helping them find the nuggets in there that they would want, that will appeal to them. I wanted to ask you, we're getting near the end of the time, but I wanted to ask you really quickly, what is a feature that StoryOrigin has that you would like to highlight that people probably don't know about?
Yeah, I love the beta copies feature is always fun to talk about with authors. It's something that really differentiates StoryOrigin. The way that it works is, I don't know, if you've ever sent like a docx file out to your beta readers and you've got 5 to 10, then you might send it out to 5 to 10 people. A lot of readers are just going to come back and they're going to be like, it was great. I loved it.
That didn't help.
And
thanks so much.
I'm trying to improve the book. I'm glad you liked it, but like, how can I improve it? And so if you just send out like a docx file, like you're not going to get a whole bunch of feedback necessarily. Or if you send out like a Google Doc or whatever, you might also run into the problem where like people are leaving feedback on your file and then they are like arguing with each other in the comments on your own manuscript. Guys, I'm trying to work here and this is my manuscript. And you can't be like, if someone says something is weird and I see that someone else says that thing was weird, I might go, oh yeah, that does sound weird. But if I were in my own silo, like I would not necessarily flag that. And so that creates a weaker signal for you as an author if something is actually worth changing, because if you've got people that are getting on this bandwagon effect where like they're saying, oh yeah, I thought that was weird too, that's less of a signal than if two people independently tell me that something was. And so the beta copies feature on StoryOrigin, the way it works and addresses all of these problems is it's similar to a review copy where you can send out the link to people and then they can request access. And then you can approve their access. You can set a deadline for them with a beta copies feature where their access will expire at a certain point in time. And then they leave feedback on each chapter to unlock the next chapter. It's better than sending them a full Word doc where they just say, that was great. You get much more granular feedback from them because they're prompted to leave feedback on each chapter, and then you can provide them critique guidance as well. Did you think any scenes were boring? What did you think about the relationship between these two characters? Was this part believable, etc.?
Right.
And so you can get much more feedback from your beta readers by doing it this way. And you'll also know, hey, I had 5 beta readers, and you can actually track how many chapters they've made it through because they leave feedback at the end of each chapter, and StoryOrigin will tell you, here's the latest chapter that each reader has left feedback on. You say, okay, I had 3 readers that stopped at chapter 7.
Yeah.
And only 2 made it all the way through. What's going on? Why is my book boring?
Yeah. What at that point is the issue?
And so what do I need to do to hook them, to keep them reading and stuff like that? And yeah, it's fun, especially when readers have to unlock each chapter by leaving feedback on the previous chapter. You'll just get so much better feedback. And I've just heard from so many authors who have found that to be the case. And the beta readers too, because the reading experience is just better than opening a Word doc or using like Google Docs or something like that, because it's designed to be read more like a book.
I love that feature. I did not know you had that, so that's amazing. Yeah.
There was a video posted by an author right before Author Nation where she had been promoting her book on TikTok, and she got 300 people who said they wanted to beta read for her. Right now, imagine sending Word docs to 300 people. That's not going to work, right? Regardless of whether or not they give you good feedback, just trying to collate 300 Word docs into a single set of things that you can actually make edits from would be impossible. She used the beta copies feature, and it becomes much more manageable because each reader lives in their own silo with reading that beta copy. But you as an author, it's all collated for you automatically. So you can see all of their comments, but they all live in their own silos.
I was about to say, one author's opinion, 300 is way too much for a beta. You don't want that many opinions. Now that's okay for reviews, but not for betas.
You can be pulled in too many directions when you have that many beta readers. But also the other thing is, like with the beta copies feature on StoryOrigin, readers request access and you can ask them questions up front. Have you read any other books in this genre? Who are your favorite authors? Have you read any of my previous books? Stuff like that. And then just select the handful that you think would be the best fit. And if those people don't work out for whatever reason, fall through, then you could approve a few more and leave those applications pending until, or you could do multiple rounds where it's the other thing with the beta copies feature is you can create new versions of chapters. So you don't edit the existing chapters that are there, you upload a new version of a chapter. So readers are able to leave feedback on that new version.
Just again, one author's opinion. I think 5 is enough. And I also think having an odd number is good because it breaks
the tiebreaker.
Exactly. But that's just my opinion. Tell us what we like to ask this question to all of our guests. What do you think the best thing you've done to set yourself up for success has been?
Building my own mailing list. Had I not started a mailing list when I was building StoryOrigin, I do not think I would be nearly as successful as I have been. And I was running StoryOrigin for free for 3 years before it ever became a paid product for authors. And regardless of the fact that I was making no money, I always made sure to invest my time in, one, providing really good customer support, even though I made $0 from it, because I wanted authors to be able to trust me, trust StoryOrigin, and be able to know that they were going to be able to rely on it when they were spending their money on it. And the other thing is I sent newsletters out quite frequently about here are updates that I'm making. And so when I finally launched StoryOrigin's paid plans, authors were like, thank you. Finally, I can throw money at you because I've been using this product for the past 3 years, feeling very guilty.
Because that's true.
Because you're providing so much value.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now you still have a free plan, right? Entry type free plan, right?
Yeah, so there's a free tier on StoryOrigin and a paid tier on StoryOrigin. And the paid tier gets you access to all of the features. It is $10 per month or $100 per year, and that gets you everything. That gets you the reader magnets, review copies, newsletter swaps, group promos, review copies, beta copies, building your author website, which we did not talk about, but you can do that with StoryOrigin too, direct sales, all that stuff.
Good deal.
And then that free account tier, that will get you stuff like the universal book links, goal trackers for tracking and managing like your word count goals, distributing direct downloads to readers. They won't collect email addresses, but if you're just trying to give a freebie away to your existing audience and you just want to provide them a download to it, have StoryOrigin handle the customer support. You can use that feature on StoryOrigin. There's no like limits on any of this stuff that I've been talking about. There's no like up charges or anything like that. You can use your newsletter service provider integrations as are completely free. You don't need to pay any extra fees for that. That comes on the free tier. You can use that integration with the direct downloads feature on StoryOrigin to verify that someone's on your mailing list before they can get the download. And then there's no like up charges if you get certain number of downloads, like that's going to cost you extra. There's nothing like that. So the cost to you as an author is fixed either at $0 or $10 a month, and there's no surprises.
Awesome.
Nice.
Great. Yeah.
Thanks for being here. It's been great to talk to you and learn a little bit more about StoryOrigin. Tell everybody where they can find out more about StoryOrigin.
Yeah, you can find StoryOrigin at StoryOriginApp.com. And if anyone has any follow-up questions or runs into any issues or anything like that, you're always welcome to send me an email. My email address is Evan, EVAN, at StoryOriginApp.com. If you forget that, no problem. Just go to StoryOrigin and you'll see my face, you'll see my name at the bottom of the homepage. I'm very transparent about who I am, what I do, and all that stuff. And my inbox is always open. And that is how I continue to improve StoryOrigin, is I get feedback from authors. And if I get a bunch of emails like, hey, Evan, how do I do this? And I go and I improve the product. So I get less of those emails.
Yeah. It's another thing for your to-do list, right?
Yeah,
it becomes
absolutely.
On the list.
That's great.
Right. We will have those links in the show notes, and those will be at wishidknowforwriters.com. And if you want to support the show, you can go to that same link /support. You can also find us on Substack now. Yep. And don't forget, our sponsor this week is Vellum. The link to Vellum will also be in the show notes.
Yep.
So we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.